I think sometimes, depending on what's going on in your life, sometimes you got to come sing the songs to remind yourself of what's true. Because the weak sometimes tells you other things. And so when we sing things like God is good, you are good, you are good, and we repeat it, it's to get it centered into our soul. Because the world's going to go out and tell us that he's not. So it's good. I love that band. The band is so good. So we are currently in Matthew. If you're new, you didn't know that, but if you're not new, you know that very well. We're in Matthew, and so one of the things that we're going to do today is that because it is Commitment Sunday, I didn't want to jump off of Matthew just yet, and so what I did, and I don't think this is cheating. All right, I'm jumping 2 sections of chapter 6. Okay, because I know we left off 2 weeks ago. We left off in the middle of Jesus talking about prayer. All right, and so I'm going to go back to that next week. And so this week, we're actually going to jump into Matthew chapter 6, verse 19 through 24. And I just want to let you know, I was 2 weeks off from just nailing the timing on this. Like, if we'd have just done it 2 weeks later, I would have been right on the money. But so that's what we're going to do. We're going to jump forward, and then we'll jump back next week. So again, if you don't have a Bible, we would love for you to take one. If there's none back there, have we run out of them? Have we actually, you guys been taking them? That's awesome. Are there any back there? Let's go with yes. I'll take that as a yes. So if you need a Bible, you can go grab a Bible. We'd love for you to have that and take that home and read it and follow along with us. So in Matthew 6, what we've been saying, actually the entire Sermon on the Mount, right, has been about living in an upside-down kingdom. That Jesus is speaking to a group of people that are under the control of Rome, right? Under the control of Rome, but also Jesus saying we're going to live a different way. We're going to still live in God. God is still in charge, even though Rome controls us, right? And so this is what kind of what he's been. So Matthew 6 has been a lot of look up. Where Matthew 5, if you were here from Matthew 5 was a lot of shine your light. Let other people see your good deeds. Let other people see what God has done in your life, what it looks like to be in God's kingdom. Let people see. And then chapter 6 is, instead of look out, chapter 6 is look up. It's don't do things so that other people see them. Don't pray just so other people think, oh, look at how well they pray. Don't be charitable just so that people see how charitable you are, right? So there's these. What we've said is that Matthew 6 is the gym that prepares you to be the Matthew 5 person, right? Matthew 5 is the goal. Matthew 6 is the workout, and we're not posting our gym selfies, is what we've been saying. We're not posting our gym selfies. Chapter 6 is about being in the gym, and so let's start with reading verse 19. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust consume and where thieves break in and steal. So as soon as we start talking about money, I know like the tension kind of gets us. And so this passage, sometimes I think if you just a cursory reading, you can think, okay, so am I not supposed to save anything? Like what, that seems a bit. What does that mean? So let me ease the tension for a second. I think storing up here is not synonymous with saving for the future. All right? Storing up is closer, what Jesus is saying, storing up is closer to hoarding than it is to saving. Storing up is closer to hoarding than it is to saving. It's John Wesley was kind of had a famous saying about money, right? It was make as much as you can, save as much as you can, give as much as you can. Has anyone heard that? Anyone here? Raise a hand if you've heard. Okay, good. I'm not by myself. Yeah, Christian, you better heard it. We went over that in class. Me and Christian are in school together. So make all you can, save all you can, give all you can. So this isn't about saving money. This isn't what I think Jesus is talking about, but about hoarding your possessions. That can mean money, right? But it can mean a lot of other things. There's a parable that Jesus is recorded in the book of the Gospel of Luke in chapter 12. It's called the rich young fool. And it says this in verse 15. It says, and he said to them, Jesus said to them, take care, be on your guard against all kinds of greed. For one's life does not consist in the abundance of possessions. I bought my stepdad or my dad a shirt for Father's Day one year, and it said, he who dies with the most tools wins. Right? Right. So that's like, right? And he's going to win. So then he told them this parable. The land of a rich man produced abundantly. And he thought to himself, what should I do? For I have no place to store my crops. And then he said, I will do this. I will pull down my barns and build larger ones. And there I will store all my grain and all my goods. And I will say to my soul, soul, I love that he talks to his own. He's like, soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, be merry. But God said to him, you fool, this very night your life is being demanded of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be? And so if you run out of room to store all of your stuff, right? That's what that kind of parable. If you run out of room, or you have so much that you don't know what to do with, Jesus says maybe figure out a different thing to do with it, rather than tear down your barns and just build bigger ones so you can hoard more or store more. Find something else to do with it. And then I love that he says, who's going to get all your stuff? Right? Because our thought is like, well, my kids are going to get it. Right? The reality is that all of your stuff, even if it's going to your kids, right, is a medical disaster, a divorce, a bankruptcy away from just being completely gone anyway, right? I mean, it can disappear like that. And so it's just like you're focusing maybe too much on how much you can store, how much you can get away with. And the reality is, like, what we're called to do is to be a blessing, right? That's like one of the first promises in Genesis. It was in Genesis 12, right? He says, God says to Abram, I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great so that you will be a blessing. Right? So when we're blessed, the call is to share it, right? It's not to go, look how blessed I am. Look how blessed I am. I'm so blessed. And it's like, no. We're blessed in order that we might be a blessing. And so instead of thinking, how can I store? I have no more room for all of my blessings. It's like hand them out, right? Give more. One of a practical idea for this is I used to kind of oversee a clothing pantry, a free clothing pantry in Lorain County. And it was one of the largest, gave away a lot of clothes. And so one of the things I would tell the congregation every year around January is I'd say, listen, take all of your clothes in your closet and turn the hangers around backwards, right? Turn the hangers around backwards. That way, in a year, you'll know what you haven't worn. You put everything back, regular, and then at the end of the year, everything that's turned backwards still, you didn't wear that year. And then what a blessing is that you have so much clothing that you don't even use it, right? Like and so then you would donate those items, right? It's just a way of because you're storing them up. You're storing up things that you're not using. And so it's like, how can I be a blessing with the things that I've been so blessed with that I can't even use? And so I guess the good question then would be, how much is too much to save? That's tense, right? How much is too much to save? So there's a curse word I'm going to use. It's budget, right? Budget. So the budget, I've always kind of thought roughly 10 times. I'm a Dave Ramsey guy, all right? So if you don't like Dave Ramsey, you're not going to like half of this message, all right? About 10 times what it costs to live is what you, and here's part of the issue. In Jesus' day, the average life expectancy for if you made it through childhood, because if you made it, average, I think it was in the 40s, like 30 to 40. But if you made it through childhood, the life expectancy would be about 50 to 60 years old. So you never really outlived your working potential, right? So there was no need to save up for retirement. And even if you did, there's not mutual funds, right, in Jesus' day, right? So what are we doing? So we can't think of it in the same way. We have to put it into our own context, right? We will, because of modern technology, because of science and all these things, we outlive a lot of our working potential. And so we do have to save something, right? We do have to have something to live off of when we stop working. And so I always kind of thought about 10 times what it costs to live is a good goal. And here's the idea, just having a goal is, many of us don't even have a goal. Like, because you really got to set your own goal on what is too much to save. And here's the reality of it is, when you decide how much is enough to save, the poorer you are when you decide what that number is, the lower that number will be, right? Because imagine when I was in my 20s, I was like, man, if I ever made X dollars, and I'd be like, man, I would be so good. I'd be so happy. And then when you make X dollars, you're like, man, if I made X dollars, right? It's like, because there's always this up. It's like, I never thought you'd make what you make now, maybe. And then you're like, oh, I still need more. I want more. Well, we've never set a goal. We've never set like this is enough. And whatever that number is has to be up to you, right? But could you come up with a number of what is enough to save that I would be able to function? There's a King Solomon. I don't know if you're familiar with him. The richest, supposedly, the richest person in the history of the world, and supposed to be the wisest man until Jesus, right? And he said this about wealth. In Ecclesiastes 2:9, a very depressing book. I don't know if you're just really too excited about the day and you want to bring your mood down a little bit. Ecclesiastes, great place to start. All right, so he says this: "So I became great and surpassed all who were before me in Jerusalem. Also my wisdom remained with me. Whatever my eyes desired, I did not keep from them. I kept my heart from no pleasure, for my heart found pleasure from all my toil, and this was my reward from all my toil. Then I considered all that my hands had done, and the toil I had spent in doing it, and again, all was vanity and a chasing after the wind, and there was nothing to be gained under the sun." And so Solomon's like, listen, even I had it all. If I wanted it, I could have it, and I was still wanted more. It's a chasing after the wind. And you can ask anyone, if you ask anyone who you think is rich, are you rich? They usually say, no. It's the next person, right? It's always, no, but that person, I know who is rich, and it's always someone, no matter who they are, like the next person is the rich person, right? We never kind of see ourselves as rich, so it's always this chasing. It's always this chasing after more and more and more. And here's if you're watching online, right? If you're hearing this somewhere, like, you are rich. You're rich. Listen, I have in my house, this is how rich I am. Just be prepared for this. I'm going to blow you away how rich I am. I have a tank in my basement that stays hot with water all the time. The middle of the night when we're sleeping, hot water. Why? I just have hot water all the time. You know how crazy that is? Like that's normal for us, but like people all over the world, like, you just, whenever you want, like, you're not boiling it. No, I am boiling it all the time. I have so much money that I can just keep a hot tank of water in my house. We're rich, right? We're rich. Here's how rich I am as well. How many people have, I'm going to see if you're rich too, have a yard? Okay. Yeah, me too. I grow in my yard grass, which is completely useless. It's completely useless. And because I grow grass, I had to buy a mower to mow that grass, and it feeds no one. This feeds no one. I'm using batteries. Okay, I'm using batteries. It's Lakewood. Like, I'm doing all these things, right? But because I'm so rich, I don't have to grow my own food, right? I'm not growing anything in my yard. Like people with land used to grow things like to eat and to live. But I grow grass so that I don't cut it. My son does. So my son has a job to do every week, right? So, listen, you're rich. We are the 1%, right? If you're in America to some. So then Jesus says this. He says, all that stuff that you have stored up, all of that stuff, it actually has its own enemy. Your stuff has its own enemy. And he says it this in verse 20, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven where neither moth nor rust consumes and where thieves do not break in and steal. And I would add now where inflation does not make it useless, right? Right. So this is the moth, right, is nature's corrosion. The moth is nature. And then rust is the corrosion of time. And the thief is humanity's corrosion, right? So all of your stuff has these three things. And again, even if you have a savings account, if you have too much in a savings account, it's not worth what it was 4 years ago if you didn't make any interest off of it, right? Right, so that you should even have it, I think Dave Ramsey says something like 3 to 6 months living expenses in a savings account. Right, and then you should be putting your money where inflation isn't destroying it, right? So that's kind of a good kind of rule to go by. But again, this is about stuff that you aren't using, right? Because moths don't really destroy things that are being used. You with me? Right, rust, when you're monitoring your car, if you're taking care of things, if you're using something, like my tools, like we always make fun of guys at work, when they don't work a lot. Okay, I work 2 days a week, so I get made fun of a lot. Like, are your tools getting rusty? Right? Are your tools getting rusty? Right? Because I'm not using them, right? And so this is like tools get rust, things get rust, but they're not being used. They're just sitting there, like they're not being used. And then it's a lot harder to steal something that you're paying attention to and using all the time, right? It's a lot harder to have something stolen. I usually find out something's stolen when I haven't used it in 6 months. Right? It's like, where was that thing? And right, and it's like, and I see the other guy across the job, like, I think that's mine. Like, I totally forgot I even had it, right? It's because we're not using this stuff. So again, this is about not saving for useful things, but it's about having things you don't need and having too much and storing too much and being so blessed that, and you're not sharing. Solomon also said this in Proverbs 18, verse 11. He says, the wealth of the rich is their strong city. In their imagination, it's like a high wall. And it's because we can build up all these barns. We can tear down old barns, build up bigger ones, build up newer ones. And listen, 2008 can happen again, right? Coronavirus can happen again. All these things that we thought, these jobs, these towers, these places to store our money, he says they're imagined as a tall tower. They're deceived because it doesn't take much to tear it all down, right? And what also happens is this. The more you have, because here's what we think. We think that I'm anxious about my bills, or I'm anxious about food, or I'm anxious about, so we think that if I get more money, I'll be less anxious. Right? Anyone feel like I just need more money and I won't be so worried about things. But you know who does not care that the stock market has moved up or down at all? Like broke people have no anxiety about the stock market. Right? Right? Like nothing. Like if you have a bunch of properties that you rent to people and you're doing this, you know who's not like you have to worry about every renter like that ever walks into those houses. Like there's anxiety with accumulation. Are you with me? Is that tracking? Right? The more you have, it does not eliminate anxiety completely. It can add more. G.K. Chesterton is a British writer and philosopher and a Christian apologist. He said, there's two ways to have enough money. Acquire more or desire less. Right? Acquire more or desire less. And again, that's about having a target. It's about having something to aim at. And so if Jesus hasn't made us uncomfortable yet, he's going to with the next verse. All right? Verse 21. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. This one gets me because Jesus makes it so simple to find out what we worship. Makes it so, and it's like, can you make it more complicated? Because it's too easy for me to find out where my heart is. If worship is defined as the positioning of the heart, then all we have to do is look at where we spend money, and we will find out exactly what we deem most important. And so again, a budget allows you to see these things, and it can be depressing because some things might show up over and over, especially if you have like online banking. It'll list like all the places that it'll put them in order, and you can see like how many times you went. So my heart is in Cozumel, the restaurant, not Mexico. I love it there, right? And it's going to show up all over my bank account, right? And so I know, like that's something, like when the people that work there wave at you, everybody you pass, like you go there a lot, right? So these are my friends and my family at Cozumel. But am I? Each item, and so I set my budget, and this is what you can do with your budget. You can set your budget, and you can see, and what I did, I'm a little nerdy. I have a big Excel sheet, and I put at the top a percentage of total budget for each item that I use. Maybe excessive, that's fine. But then it lets me know when I go to look at it, what percentage of my income am I spending on Cozumel, and how much am I giving to feed the hungry, right? Like how much, right? How much, and so you can look at it and go, am I prioritizing fancy coffee over giving water to the thirsty, right? Am I prioritizing my dining out? And I'm not talking about eating, right? I'm not talking about eating. I'm talking about dining out. Am I prioritizing dining out over feeding the hungry, right? These are the conversations that when you do a budget, if you do a budget, that you have to have, either with yourself, if you're by yourself, or with your spouse. Where are we pointing our heart at? What are we pointing our heart at is the question. And so here's some of the pushback that I would get over the years with some of this, when especially talking, not so much in church, but when I talk to people outside of church about this, because people ask me a bunch of crazy questions all the time. They're like, "You're a pastor. What do you think?" And so one of the pushbacks is, well, I don't trust I don't trust what the church is doing with it, or they're not doing exactly what I want them to do with the money, or they're not doing all these things, and so there's like all this stuff, right? Reasons. What's up, dude? I think you got to play with your trucks over there. Go see him. Go see Kevin. There you go. No, you're fine. You're fine. If you don't trust the church, if you do not trust your church with what you've been donating, you don't give because you don't trust the church, you need to find a church that you trust. All right? And I don't say that to be outlandish, like go somewhere else, do something. I'm saying that because your giving is important to your development in Christ. Does that track? Like, your giving makes you more like God. And so if you're not giving because you don't trust the church or you don't trust what's going on with it, you need to find a place that you do trust, that you can give to, because giving transforms us into the image of God. So here's a little bit of here's another challenge, right? So we had the coat hanger thing, right? We did the coat hanger thing. What you can do is, especially if you're new to giving, if you're like new to church, if you're like new to all these things, and you're like, I don't know about this giving thing. Like, I like the music, I like the serving stuff, but the giving thing, like, I'm not really into it. I don't know where to start. Here's an easy place to start. So if you look through your expenses and you keep seeing your Cozumel, whatever your Cozumel is, you just go, I could probably take a couple of those Cozumels, and I can sacrifice those things and start there with my giving. Like, I'm not taking away from bills, all these things, but I'm just sacrificing a couple nights dining out, a couple cups of nice coffee a month, to begin giving, to kind of exercise that muscle. Because if your giving muscles are atrophied, right? Like if you ever had like when I had knee surgery and they said like my muscles, they said atrophy, right? So it's like they didn't exist basically, like they were, and so I just had to do like these, and I felt so stupid. They gave me this big rubber band, and I just would like tap my toes with it. I'm like, this is nothing. Like, why am I doing this? But I couldn't do anything else. Like, you have to start somewhere. So even if it's like, but it seems so minuscule. You have to start the muscle building somewhere. And if it's been atrophied and has not been used, you just start small, okay? So then there's this passage in Matthew that for a long time I didn't think fit where it fits. I don't know if you've ever thought that, but like it seems like it jumps off topic and then he goes back on a topic, but I think I may have figured it out. So this is what it says in verse 22. It says, the eye is the lamp of the body. It's like, wait, weren't we just talking about treasures and hearts? And he says, the eye is the lamp of the body. So if your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light in you is darkness, how great is the darkness? When you look at, let me see if I can, I was worried about explaining this. I'm hoping this makes sense. The eye, right? So the eye, like I can tell from here when you're looking at me, no matter where you're at. And it's only because the way that the eye is designed, right? The eye is designed so that we can see where other people are looking, all right? That's the way it's developed. We can trust people that we can, when we see their eyes, we're looking in their eyes, like you can make these kind of things. And so actually, when I used to teach preaching classes, I would tell people, it's like, if you don't have to wear glasses, if you can get around wearing glasses when you're speaking, it's really going to help you make eye contact, and it's going to help people to connect with you, right? And so, because have you ever seen the experiment where someone just stands in the middle of the mall and looks up? They just look up, and then people start walking by looking up, like, right? It's like, what are you looking at, right? Because what we want, because the eye, we want to know what other people are looking at, because what you look at, you believe is important, right? When you're having a conversation with someone eye to eye and something happens over here, and you look up and you look back, right? You look up. If you keep doing that, eventually they go, what's more important than this conversation, right? Like the eye is super important because the eye tells us what someone finds important or what someone finds dangerous, right? The eye is always trying to find those two things. And so, if you're looking at the wrong things, if you're setting the wrong goals, if you're aiming at the wrong targets, your entire life will be in chaos because you're going after the wrong things. And that's what this is about. It's about it's about looking up. It's look up at God. Focus on God. You're so worried about what other people are doing. And here's the cool thing about this. It works both ways. All right, so if you're looking at the wrong things, aiming at the wrong things, have the wrong targets in mind, chaos will ensue. But if your life is chaotic, all you have to do, one of the things you can do is to begin aiming at the right things, looking at the right things, making the right goals, setting the right targets, right? This is what the eye is so important because, again, I've told my kids when they were driving, you will go where you look. If you're looking at the side of the road, you're going to end up in the curb, right? It's like you have to look where you want to go, and if you're looking at the wrong things, you're going to go to the wrong places. And so I think it fits here. I think what was our friend's name? Frederick Bruner, the guy I've been bringing up over and over. He said this. He said, if one's goal is to impress others by acquiring personal treasures in fame or fortune, one's center of gravity will always be people and their admiration. A person's goals are, in fact, very often a person's gods. I was like, oh, that's good. A person's goals are often a person's gods. It's like, what are you trying to acquire? And so if your goal, your aim, your target is on impressing those around you, you're in for a long and dreadful experience. Because there's always going to be someone you can't impress. And so Jesus again says, look up at me. Stop looking around. Make the kingdom your goal. And then verse 24 says, no one can serve two masters, for a slave will either hate the one and love the other, or be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and mammon. Now, mammon, a lot of translations use like treasure or money, finance, those types of things. But mammon is money or pleasure, popularity, or favor. Bruner said this. He said, mammon is the form of idolatry with which the devil operates after the old idols lost their attraction for the Christianized populace. So basically, once we stopped going after Baal or the Greek gods or all these different gods, and we started going, well, we're not sure about all that stuff, another god still popped up. And it was mammon. And actually, in some of your texts, it's actually capitalized as the name of a god. Like mammon is those things. It's something that you're going after. And so I think what we have to look at, because if you aim at treasure and fame, you can't aim at God. You cannot aim at two things at once. Right? Jesus said that, not me. He said you can't serve both masters. And so I think a lot of us try to live in this in-between area, where it's like, I'm going to do a little bit of this, I'm going to do a little bit of that. And let me say this. This is not a call to poverty. This is not a call to poverty. It's a call to priority. That's the difference. It's what's in charge. Who is the master? Do I adjust my giving because my vacation was more expensive than I thought it would be? Or do I adjust my vacation because my giving is the master, right? Like who's in charge of me? And so Paul says this, and I'm going to close up here. In 1 Timothy 6:17, it says, as for those who in this present age are rich, right? That's us, right? We said that. Command them not to be haughty or to set their hopes on the uncertainty of riches, right? It's a strong tower. They think it's a high tower. But rather on God. Look up, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. They are to do good, to be rich in good works, generous and ready to share, thus storing up for themselves the treasure of a good foundation for the future, so that they may take hold of the life that really is life. And so listen, I think the church must be characterized by great stewardship. By great stewardship. We are people blessed by God so that we would be a blessing. So we have to stop looking around at what everybody else is doing. Stop looking at the Joneses. And we have to look up. Thank you, church.